Dara, Owen, and all of our listeners, welcome back to the Backdoor Cut. Another week following some league fixtures, and our very own Owen McCabe was out in the field on the weekend. Owen, how did it go? Although I do know how it went, so feel free to give whatever detail you're comfortable giving.
Yeah, obviously good personally to get back on the pitch. Happy to be back out there, but result-wise from the team definitely put a dampener on it. Yeah, I think we got beat by 7 in the end, which wasn't great. Sligo were probably in the last 10-15 minutes definitely the better team anyway. I think it was very tight the whole way through the game. We played relatively well first half. It's very nip and tuck, and it was a close game, but Sligo ran away with it in the end, so fair play to them. Yeah, good to get back out there. Another bit of progress, another box ticked, so just obviously build on that then this week. Did feel a bit, obviously had a big week of training last week. Probably Tuesday session, maybe overcooked it a wee bit. So I was a bit sore and stiff going into the rest of the week. I think sitting in the car for a couple of hours on the way down to Sligo didn't help too much either. Felt a bit sore and stiff going into the game still, just body adapting to the load again. But no, feeling grand now, got a good session in there. Bit of recovery done Monday. Back team training last night, went well, and yeah, good session there today again. So body's feeling good and continuing to build on it. So happy out.
How did you feel in the game?
Probably, I think this is one thing I said, I've had experience of coming in off the bench before, and I think coming in off the bench is probably one of the hardest things you can probably do in terms of getting up the speed of the game. It can be tough at the best at times. You almost just have to prepare yourself that, right, I'm going to be blowing here for 5 minutes or so until I get the wind up, get the legs going properly. Probably felt that a wee bit. Probably felt a wee bit heavy in the legs, but I felt skill-wise was grand. Good to get hand on the ball, and just good to get sort of some competitive minutes under the belt, I suppose.
And what would you put down? Obviously, Sligo pulling away towards the end too.
It's still hard to put my finger on it exactly. There's so many. I think a lot of it came from our own mistakes and our own, I suppose, carelessness at times. Times we were giving the ball. I remember a couple of examples. Slipping the ball, almost sort of backdoor cut style, and players not even looking. The player that's receiving the ball not being fully, they're still busy making the run, not thinking the pass is going to come, things like that. Handling skills, us turning the ball over, giving it easily, just for fucking poor passing, poor handling. Just real basic stuff. We were doing and trying a lot of the things that we are instructed to do and should be doing, but I think it was just the execution of it on the day, and then, getting caught out on the counter attack there.
Speaking of games getting away from you in the last few minutes, Tara, obviously weren't involved at the weekend, but a disappointing result for you lads against Cork. What does it feel like watching on when that's happening to your teammates?
Yeah, to be honest, when you're not involved, you're kind of just in the viewpoint of, suppose, of a supporter, because again, yeah, that's just the way it is, I suppose, when you're from your county. But it's just so disappointing, especially when, I suppose, you are a player as well and you know you could be playing. Yeah, you just feel a wee bit powerless that you're just standing watching on. And in those moments, it can be difficult, because once a team gains so much momentum, like Cork probably did in that second half, it's very hard to know and to, I suppose, turn the tide. And I suppose they put quite a big squeeze on us in the second half and kickouts. And we just struggled. We struggled to probably get out at times, and we struggled to deal with their hard runs in the second half. They brought on a few quality players and created a few goal chances, and yeah, our goalkeeper actually made a couple of saves as well. So we created our own goal chances as well. We didn't take them. But I suppose you just feel so, disappointed to come out on the wrong side of it when you were leading for so long. So yeah, it's tough to watch, I think.
And then you getting back into some team training this week, obviously following a loss and then knowing you're probably putting a bit of pressure on yourself to get back into that team training and be the best player on the field immediately. What was it like getting back into team training? How did you feel out there? And then how are you reflecting on it now?
Yeah, it was unbelievable to get back out and involved. Skill wise and stuff, like I don't feel like I've been, I don't feel like I've had 9 months off the pitch or whatever it has been. I felt like I slotted in quite nicely in that regard, and I felt like my kicking and my handling was quite good, and I felt probably sharp enough just based off the work that I've done with Alan over the last couple of months. So, yeah, you're right. As soon as you're back in, you're just trying to push as much as you possibly can to try and get playing as soon as you possibly can. But realistically, I'm probably a good bit off that just yet. It's going to take time to, I suppose, build the level of condition. It's going to take time to, I suppose, train and not aggravate the injury, because if I just continue to push on now and spike load and push to try and play, I'll just end up back where I started. So probably a mix of just trying to get ball in hand and improve my skill level as much as I can over the next couple of weeks, but then trying to be smart too and not push too much too quickly. Because yeah, I suppose it's been that long now, there's no point in rushing it.
And if you do rush it, obviously, like, there's a likelihood that you miss out on more time, which is obviously what you don't want. Do you have in your mind that you want to feature the league at all, or are you eyeing up the Ulster Championship as a realistic time point to try and get back for, if that is even possible, or are you just taking each week as it comes?
I would absolutely love to make it back for some 4 minutes in the league, and I'll be honest, like in the back of my head, that's what I want, and that's what I've probably been wanting over the last couple of weeks. Whether that's realistic or not, I actually don't know. It really depends session to session, week to week, and what way my body responds when I'm really thrown into the thick of it. Yeah, so again, like, I honestly can't make that prediction, and that's probably the toughest part, to be honest. Like, it's something I have been struggling with, today. It is just coming to terms with the fact that it's just the complete unknown, and I do not have a set date when to come back. And the more I put dates and times on things, the harder it gets, because the more frustrated I get when it doesn't go to plan. So yeah, I've learned that the hard way. There's no real benefit in setting a date on it, because again, I don't have a clue what way my body will respond from one day to the next, never mind 2, 3, 4 weeks down the line.
Do you still ask the question from time to time? As in, to Alan or to physios, like, when do you reckon I'll be back? Because I get that all the time from athletes. It's like, I know you don't really like dates or timelines or anything like that, but what do you think? Like, and I'm like, yeah, impossible to say.
I put it to Alan a couple of weeks ago, actually, and he did put together like a bit of a timeline as to what would make sense and what would be feasible if things do go to plan. Whether we're on track for that, I don't think we are at the minute. But I'll not be. I don't. Yeah, I'm past the point of asking about dates and stuff, because I've learned over the last year it just doesn't work like that, especially with a chronic injury.
And as well as that, it might take a little bit of time to get back to that level of sharpness. Now, Dara's just touched on there that he did feel pretty sharp in terms of his skill level in training on, and you were saying something similar a couple of weeks ago. But then going into the game, potentially that wasn't the case, potentially it was, but how many games do you reckon you need at times following a long layoff to get back to that match sharpness that players are always talking about, Owen?
Yeah, you probably do need a few games under your belt. Coming in there for 30 minutes the last day, like, yes, it was good to get the minutes under the belt, but there's nothing like playing a full game and being in the flow of the game from the first minute. I think maybe in my head, it was always, maybe in the past, I was like, right, get 2 good games under my belt and I'll sort of be like, well, back into the swing of things. Like, but again, similar to what Dara said about a sort of timeline, I could just sort of, it just sort of comes with time, and it's something that's always sort of, you're always chipping away at. But it's one of those things, just the more exposure you're getting, like, the better it's going to be. So it's striking that balance between managing yourself back into it rather than just throwing the kitchen sink at it and jumping into too much too soon. But if you're good, you want to be playing as much minutes as possible, and the sooner you get those sort of minutes under the belt, the better, I feel.
So in the player's perspective, what you're saying, Owen, it's better to potentially play more minutes earlier on when you're coming back, or as many as is allocated and as many as is recommended to get you back up to the level of sharpness that you were at potentially prior to your layoff than it is to kind of give minutes here or there.
Yeah, I think so. I think you want to get as much as possible without doing any harm, basically. You know, if you're able to play 30 minutes 1 week, 40 minutes the next week, 60 minutes the next week, and then another 60, then great. Obviously that's based on performance and if selected and all the rest of it. But in an ideal world, you want to be building up the minutes as soon as possible. You want to be getting full games under the belt as soon as possible. From again, providing that you're not regressing, going backwards, making anything worse. But yeah, like there's nothing like playing consistent games week in, week out, and your consistency is unbelievable. Like you just want to get that consistency as much as you can and get that get consistent full games under the belt, because we chat a lot about confidence too, and confidence comes from having that evidence that you can do it. You can do whatever task it is. Like whenever you're playing full games week on week, and performing well in them, that adds to the confidence side of things as well. So confident in the body, confident that you're in your own performance levels, and confident that you're probably prepared going into games because you've got a good load of games under the belt too. So yeah, in my opinion, you definitely want to be getting as many minutes as you can from a player's perspective, Nick.
It's tough for the manager, isn't it? Because they're obviously completely focused on the immediate result. Whereas like the physio and the S&C coach are probably saying like, oh, we need to up this guy's minutes. Like, is there any aspect of that, Dara? Like when you're going back, are you going to be like, no, put me in, coach, I'm ready to go. I need to go in full forward and I'm going to dominate?
Yeah, just like let the ball in high for the first 4 games anyway. I'll not move. No, yeah, like as soon as I feel ready, I will be putting the hand up. Like, probably will do that before I am ready, more than likely. But again, it'll be up to the manager. So it's very hard once you're back in training and you're back making impact, I suppose, and you're, like, as Owen said, you've built a bit of confidence through the reps and training, more like against good defenders, I suppose. Straight away I'll just be thinking, yeah, right, I'm good to go for 10 minutes, 15 minutes here. So yeah, I suppose whether the manager actually decides to utilise that's completely out of my control. So I suppose it depends how often I can actually get training now over the next few weeks, how much the body allows me, how much load I can actually build up and how much I can actually withstand. Because obviously you won't be just throwing me in if I'm struggling to get through training sessions. Like,
May, you had to hand up in round 1 at league. Well, that's you were saying 10, 15 minutes. And for club championship as well, when you knew you weren't ready. But that's natural. That's every GA player. But Owen, obviously you were down in Sligo at the weekend. There was something that I wanted to touch on and ask you about, both of your perspectives, because there are some games that teams have to go away from or go away for, both in the league and in the championship. Is going away for a night away something that players enjoy, or is it just something that you have to do at times? Or potentially, is it something that's kind of a pain in the hole, depending on how far you're going?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on what the setup is. Like, if there's been times where you've had like a Saturday game and it's maybe at 12 or 2 o'clock or something like that, and you have to get down there on a Friday night. I remember going to Waterford one year for a game on a Saturday, and it's just, I'm afraid we're heading down on a Friday night on the bus. By the time we get into the hotel, it was maybe fucking 10, 11 o'clock, and then you were that was a shambles. Like, but I don't mind the away games. Probably do prefer home games, just in that, like, we're playing obviously in Corrigan at the minute. Like, it's 5 minutes away from the house. You can get up and go about your normal routine. It's great. Don't mind them. I think it's good crack being around the team, just being around the lads and watching. Say we're playing on a Sunday and you're watching whatever games are on the Saturday night, and everyone's sort of watching together, having a bit of crack. I do feel like it's good crack. There has been times where we've gone down and played games and stayed over the night after. Always a good night out. So yeah, I suppose more positive than negative. Like, I probably enjoy it a bit more. I think it's part of it too. Like, when you're away with the team, you're away with the lads. Like, you're in that sort of wee bubble. Nothing else kind of is going on outside of that. Like, I think it's a good environment to be in. Good crack. I think overall it's a positive thing. Like, yeah.
People are probably wondering what you get up to when you're down there. Now, I'm not going to ask about the night after just yet, but the night of, you're obviously saying there, you sit down, you watch a couple of games maybe with your teammates, but like, what's the structure of that night look like for you, Owen?
Yeah, so usually we head down would be, like say if we just use the slagging game for example there, we had to be in the hotel for like 4 o'clock on the Saturday. So it's down for 4 o'clock. Players were just allowed to sort of drive themselves. So a couple of lads carpooled. Headed down the Saturday, we were there for 4. Sat and watched, who was on? Can't remember the first game that was on, but there was a game on anyway. What's that? Just wait for everyone to get the rooms or whatever. Then we get into the gym, did a bit of mobility, we bit of a Premier session, and then it was into like a meeting room, and we had this rolling Mayo game up on the screen. Watched that, got a bit of dinner then, and then it was just you've kind of got the evening free, go and do whatever you want, and then you'll have like a team meeting before bed. Did a bit of a team meeting, bit of video stuff, another bit of a snack there, cereal and whatnot, and then but lads either go up in bed or some lads can sort of sit up a wee bit later, but I like an early night, so I was off to bed at straight after the team meeting then about 9:30, 10 like, and then I was out for the count then after that. Then you're up the next day, get your breakfast in you. There's a bit of sitting about the next day, to be fair, because if you're up the next day, you have to get everything sort of read out to the room and all the rest. Throwing could be 2 o'clock or whatever, and you're kind of sitting about then waiting to go to the pitch just. But you get up in the morning, maybe a few players maybe go for a walk, go grab coffee, again team breakfast, maybe another meeting, and then it's kind of waiting about for maybe an hour or so until you head to the pitch.
Do you find it hard to switch off prior to the game then on that morning of the game when you've woken up? Because obviously you're all in your gear and you're all standing around drinking coffees, but you're probably talking about the game, I'd imagine, or thinking about the game, even if you're talking about something else.
Yeah, I think you're always thinking about the game, because you're in a new environment, somewhere that you're not really, you're not familiar with. You're all in the tracksuit, as you say. You're all, everything you're doing is getting you prepared for the game. So yeah, I think it's always on your mind. Like, it is hard to switch off from it, but then I suppose you're there to do a job, like, and it kind of, in theory, you should be ready to go then when it comes to game time.
And then, Darragh, I'll give you the opportunity to chime in regards to when you're staying over the night after a game. Have you experienced that? And is there any spots that were surprising in terms of how good a night you managed to have in them?
Yeah, we stayed. I think we've only ever actually stayed over after one game.
Or you were telling me in Dublin.
You love Ryan. You're a big fan of Ryan's, I hear.
Ryan's gets a good out touch now, not lie. Yeah, we stayed up last year after the league final in Croke Park, so that was a messy enough night, and not lie. Yeah, some crack though, unbelievable crack.
How long just the one night?
I think it was 7. Sometimes it can escalate, when you find yourself in Dublin. But no, I don't think it's a good idea staying up after games unless you've got 3-4 weeks off after. Like, it can get messy when you have a whole squad in a hotel. Like, but I think Owen knows just what to do about that.
What does that night look like, Owen?
He's keeping cards close to the chest there.
I know, exactly. That's why I'm switching the question over to you. Owen, what does that night look like after the game? Like, straight away, after you come in off the pitch, win or lose, obviously the vibe is going to be different within the dressing room, but are there beers in the dressing room is what I'm asking.
No.
Not in the dressing room, no. But you will source them very quickly afterwards. There's two that sort of spring to mind. Last year, we were actually at Tip last year. We played Saturday night game at Tip, and we went down that morning, and then we stayed over that night. So we're out in Thurles there. We at the Hayes, is it?
Hayes Hotel, yeah.
So rocking up to this hotel, kind of going, what's going on here, sort of thing, and then we through one door, through another door. We're like, oh shit! It was like Thompson. It was like Thompson right in the corner. No,
No
that was
way.
a good crack. Quite enough one anyway.
Home
I
by 12.
One night we were in Laois a couple of years ago. We had a Saturday night game in Laois. Again, went down that day and stayed in Dublin afterwards. And I think we all landed the Coppers, I think. So it was a game. But no, it'll be either if there's an off license or whatever near the pitch, you get someone to run in, grab a few beers if there's a bit of a journey back, or else it'll be back to the hotel, get some sort of grub in these, after you get a bit of grub back to the hotel, and then probably down to the bar, get a few pints in there, and then see where the night takes you. The bus home the next day is horrible, though. Horrendous.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal.
She didn't go home, Dara.
That's why you stay up. Hook the bus home.
Good GA men anyway. Like you've mentioned, we've mentioned Ryan's, we've mentioned Coppers, and you've mentioned his hotel to home in the GAA. Many a night I'm sure that you will enjoy in the future playing intercounty. Hopefully in Dublin, I would say, and hopefully in Coppers. There's a big difference between a night out maybe there's not actually a big difference between a night out in Coppers and a night out in Hayes' hotel. But my big question that I have for you, Owen, is did you end up in Supermax after in Thurles? Because it's a famous Supermax. Or are athletes more like, I'm going to go home and get a club sandwich?
I used to be big for hitting the takeaways on the way home, but not anymore. I'm just home and probably hit bed straight away.
The woman's melody.
She has abs. I'm like,
Hi.
I need to try and up my game here. So I think there's a few lads. I think there was a wee bit of I didn't hit Supermax, but on the way home, I think there was like a wee window at the garage. Like I got called in and hit that up for a wee bit to eat. Like, but I'm sure there was a few lads had a bit of a bit to eat afterwards. All right, guy.
So there was one team in Dublin at the weekend to play against them, and it was Kerry. I don't think that they were going for a night out afterwards. Both of you obviously caught that game. Were you surprised by that result, or were you more surprised by the performance? Owen, Dar, you could go first. Doesn't matter. Anybody chime in.
I was surprised that I actually thought Kerry would go and dominate that game. I was surprised when I watched it back. I was like, why did I actually think that was going to happen against the Dubs in Croke Park? Like, the Dubs were always going to come and set down a marker, and the intensity that they played with, the quality that they had, they were just far better, like nearly all over the pitch. But then, the more that I say that, the more I think of the goal chances that Kerry actually missed as well. So, like, the game could have been so much closer than it actually was. Like, Clifford didn't have his best game by any stretch of the imagination, but he still could have had a hat-trick, which is pretty nuts. So, yeah, to be honest, surprised that they ran away with it so much. Like, I suppose by half time the game was nearly over, even though I suppose Kerry got it back to 3, and it was, it still could have went either way at that stage. But overall, the Dubs just brought much more intensity. They were much better in kickouts and stuff as well. So, and then obviously in terms of their finishing, it was on another level compared to Kerry's at the weekend, which was surprising.
Owen, does it say more about Dublin or more about Kerry that Dublin played their best performance potentially that they possibly could, and Kerry were within a whisker, and Kerry didn't particularly play great, as Dara just said? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I was similar with that. Like I actually thought initially I thought Kerry were all over it, and then I was like, or I thought Kerry were going to win it, and then I was going right. It has draw all over it here. And then Dublin just they blew them out of the water, really. I think Dublin's last couple of performances, I think they were due a big performance, and they've stepped it up big time, like, which they'll obviously be happy with. I do think they were dominant. I think Kerry, like, that's the thing. Like, if you look at the amount of score chances that they had, probably 4 or 5 goal chances, really. Like Clifford probably could have had 2 or 3 himself. Waddy probably could have had one, and I'm sure there was a couple more there as well. So I think looking at the scoreline and looking at like how the scores, the first half, Dublin racked up a pretty big score. But I think if Kerry look at like the extra scoring chances that they had, like when they break it down, then maybe they may be disappointed with execution and overall how they showed up. But like I don't think it's like just by looking at the scoreline, like I don't think it was that much of a difference in it really. Yeah, so I don't know. I definitely a big improvement from Dublin. Dublin will be happy with that. So I think they'll be that sort of benchmark that they can hit, and it's probably their best performance this year. They obviously want to kick on from that and get a bit more consistency there. Kerry, even last week against Mayo, we were sort of saying they were in control, and then kind of some of it was sort of a bit of it was a bit sloppy, and almost let Mayo back into the game. And sure, Clifford had to kick the winner to sort of pull them out there. So it might be something that they just need to address, need to look at, and something to be wary of. But they still have serious quality there, and I'm sure they'll be disappointed themselves to know that there's another couple of levels in there.
If both teams play their best performance, Dara, who do you think wins?
Very good question. It's very, very close. Like I was really impressed with Dublin. Dublin still have one or two to come back, maybe more. At the minute as well. I think Dublin, to be honest, after watching that, I think Dublin's best performance, top end performance, beats Kerry's at the moment. I think Kerry had a lot of issues going on at the weekend in terms of kickouts. Dublin got on top. Defensively, they just looked naive at times. Even when I just watched the Collins goal back in the second half when he checked and got Jason Foley, like I nearly knew it was coming. Like it was silly stuff nearly at times that they were getting caught out on. And then Merchant actually seems to be a decent enough matchup for Clifford at times, which was a pretty mad one. It'd be good to see how that goes the next day. But yeah, I'd be thinking the Dubs, to be honest. Their top performance is probably going to be Kerry's at the moment.
We've spoken a lot about scoring, and you've touched on Con there and the Dublin forward line then for you, Owen. Like, what do you do as a back there, Owen, when you're faced with that? Is there a way of stopping the rot? Like, Dara said that potentially that third goal could have been stopped, but like, when you look around that forward line, that whole six, there's no weak links.
Yeah. It's like the pace and the power that they go through, and then they can all take a score as well. It's class to see. There's just so much energy. Just the pace that they run at, it's class. Like, I think it's probably just trying to get it stopped early before they can kind of get a run at you. Because if you're sort of scrambling and they build up a bit of momentum, they have a couple of runners committed, you can almost be sort of all over the show then. So I think it's trying to get that momentum stopped early. Maybe similar to what I was saying about Antrim, is like maybe trying to hold on to the ball and trying to avoid, if you're committed to going forward and the ball gets turned over and then you're a wee bit open at the back, it's a good opportunity for teams to build up that bit of pace. I think you had a video up of showing the transition feat of transitioning at top speed, like, and they're so good at doing that. I know Dublin football's sort of played that way, where everyone's back and then everyone breaks forward at pace. Like, they're, especially in Croke Park, like, they'd be more than happy to do that. So I think on one end it's looking after the ball and taking care of it, but on the other end, like, can you get contact on early when they have the ball to stop building up that head?
And obviously, like, even to touch on that transition and that particular clip that you're referencing, all the talk afterwards has been about the Dublin forwards and Con and Paddy Small and Kieran Kilkenny and all being phenomenal. But, like, how good is Brian Fenton there?
Nice. It's a complete another level, like a completely different level for. It's like his ability to kick off both feet, solo off both feet. His vision, his handling, his composure on the ball. Like, there's nothing that man isn't able to do. At the highest level, and then he has an absolutely ridiculous engine and a burst of speed too. So, best midfielder ever, in my opinion. I honestly don't see how there could be any arguments for anyone else, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
We'll let Owen go ahead if he has a different perspective.
Do you know what? I actually hadn't thought of it. When you think of his record in championships too, like, I don't think anyone can really compete with that. I think you're probably right. Like, I do think he's all rounder. He's kicking plenty of scores from play. It's a big thing. There's almost times where he almost looks like he's so much time, and he's almost like, you would nearly say he's slow on the ball, but I can guarantee if you're trying to run after him, it'd be fucking hard time trying to catch up with him. Like, He makes it look easy, like lording it in the sky too, like so. Nah, I'll give Dara that one.
I'd love to see someone try and put up an argument against that and validate us.
We'll invite them on if they can.
Yeah, like
Or
honestly,
if
I
they
don't
can
see
send
how.
us a voice note, that would be brilliant as well.
Send me a video of someone in 1987 catching a few high balls. Like, it's not going to beat it. Like,
We'll see. If they can put forward a good case, we'll listen to it, and we'll listen to it live on the Backdoor Cut, and then we'll get the perspective of both you guys from that. So in relation then to, we've spoke about that game only, were there any other standout performers this week, or was it one of the dubs that was the standout number one player of the week, and were Dublin the team of the week in your perspective, Dara?
yeah, I think the Dubs are the team of the week from my perspective anyway. Player of the week has to be Con, like absolutely outrageous. His ability to create space for himself is just phenomenal, and then his finishing ability too has been really, really good. So they'd be probably the two. Obviously then you've got Tyrone pulled out a ridiculous performance the second half against Mayo, so Clanman and McCurry obviously were on fire in that as well. Trying to think, I didn't see a massive amount of other football, if I'm being honest, so that's probably my take on it.
Well, Derry are probably going to be saying, what do we need to do? Like, we're top of the league there, and we're not getting a look in from McGurn Fitness. So if you did have to play them at some stage...
I spoke about them last week, don't worry.
No, I'm only joking. This week, though, a good win against Galway as well. Owen, any standout performers there that haven't been named?
I only saw the Tyrone and Kerry game and the Tyrone and Mayo game and the Kerry Dublin game. And then I watched the highlights of the Derry and Galway game. From the highlights, it was 2-3 minutes long, so I didn't see enough of that. The comment, to be honest. I think Darren McCurry was class. Darren Canavan's he's unbelievable. McCurry, what did he finish up with? 8 points.
8 and 1/2. It's pretty fucking
haven't
mad.
hit 8 points in my whole fucking 4 or 5 years playing for Antrim, like. So and some of the points too were top class, and Canavan's he's definitely an apple, like. Yeah, unreal. I know we were chatting about Shane McGuigan being up there. Would you say Darragh Canavan's top? Where would you rate him in terms of best players in Ireland at the minute?
He's top 5 at the moment, I think. He's top 5.
Too.
You still obviously have Con, you still have David Clifford, Shane McGuigan, and then you're probably talking Canavan, maybe. I'm trying to think, and maybe leaving people out there.
Pretty forward oriented, so like, are we talking forwards or are we talking players?
We're talking forwards. Yeah, go forwards.
I think you'd have had yourself up there, Darren. I suppose you have to try and get a game first, yeah.
Me and Clifford's fighting for that number one now.
I think, Owen, you're becoming more and more of an undercover forward day by day. Like you said, best players in the country, and all you thought of was forwards as well.
But I don't know where the notion came that I was a cornerback. Like, honestly, like
You're always the wing half back at schools, remember you? Absolute shit.
It's exactly wing half back. Like, I'd fucking take that over cornerback. Just taking any position to get put in these days. Played forward most of the career, and then half back, between half back, half forward, and then get shifted in the cornerback. And that's where I'm seeing that now. I get it.
So to touch on those top performers that we just touched on, obviously I'm quite biased because of what I do, I guess. But like, it seemed from a lot of the clips and a lot of the people that we have been talking about, their ability to get free, find space, and beat players one-on-one often dictates how many opportunities they get within the game to then take a score. Is it one of the key aspects of being an effective forward in Gaelic football now, your ability to take people on one-on-one, Dara?
Yeah, I think it's the fundamental. It's nearly the number one. If I was to pick one thing that I wanted to be unbelievably good at, it would be the ability to take men on 1v1. But it's not even the ability to just get the ball and take the ball on 1v1. It's the ability to like lose them and I suppose change direction when you don't have the ball, to be able to create that space and be able to see that space. And And then it comes down to, as well, I suppose, being on a level with your teammates too. Like, a lot of them chances with Con creating the goal chances, or Clifford clipping in behind, or Canavan even, wouldn't happen if the player on the ball wasn't tuned into what's happening as well. So creating that link between players is absolutely huge. And then I suppose it's about executing that skill in terms of whether it is the cutback, whether it is, a step when taking your man on, and just creating that 2-3 yards to be able to kick a score off both feet. Yeah, I really do. I'm starting to change my thoughts on that more so the more I'm watching football now. Is like the ability to change direction and show with agility is just absolutely massive. And at the top of GAA at the moment.
Is there anything to be learned from other sports then, Owen, do you think, that can be applied to Gaelic football if that is the way that the game is going at the moment?
Yeah, 100%. Like you, I think of a lot of the games. I think we were chatting about it last week or a couple of episodes ago. We were chatting about in rugby or AFL, like because it's so physical and because of the way you can tackle, players are so evasive and trying to completely stay away from contact. If one thing I've been doing at the minute is obviously all the AFL teams are pre-season, just anytime I'm on the bike or just have a few minutes I'm on the YouTube and watching the highlights of their pre-season and just seeing how evasive the players are, and then even from a rugby standpoint too, some of the steps seeing rugby are just unbelievable. So trying to look at those movements, taking bits and pieces from it and learning from other sports is going to be key. Obviously you look firstly probably at the top players in our own game first, and you learn from them. But then also expanding the horizon, I suppose, and looking further afield. There's so much that you can take. Even there's roles that you can take from other sports and trying to take that and put it into practice.
So obviously I use those examples quite a bit from rugby and AFL, but I was actually thinking in terms of soccer. Erling Haaland obviously scoring 5 goals during the week, and he's so good at getting away from players. And then I was thinking maybe Kylian Mbappe as well. Dara, if they were to play Gaelic football, would they both be on the inside forward line? And how would you use them effectively, do you think? Or is there any other players? Is there any other players that you would pick then as the alternative?
I think I'd probably play Haaland in the full forward line. I don't think I'd probably play Mbappe out in the half forward line, just as an electric burst of speed past players. Is absolutely frightening. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really watch a massive amount of soccer, to be totally honest with you. I have a massive amount of interest in it. I like watching the highlights. I suppose I do enjoy watching those type of players, the real explosive fucking big impact players like Haaland and like Mbappe. So it's good to watch them as well and to see what they're actually doing and how they're actually creating that space. For players like them too, it generally is just freakish athleticism at times that just gets them away from players. I don't know how, I suppose you'd be able to take a massive amount from that, but Haaland is probably one that, even alongside his freakish athleticism, his ability to see space, his ability to be in the right position is pretty unbelievable as well.
Oh, and is there any player from another sport, doesn't have to be soccer, that you would like to see put on a GAA jersey or a football jersey and give it a go?
Dan Carter. Play him at 11, and just let him work his magic, I think that'll be class. And then Bundyagi, I think, stick him in. You can play him. You can play him anywhere. Centre half back.
Full back.
Centre half back.
I wouldn't mark him
forward. I'd say do some damage.
Don't see tag for long and full
that's
back.
That's class. Unreal. I would say Sonny Bill Williams, if we're going to go All Blacks as well, just committing men, taking men out and then just laying it off to let someone tap it in.
What position would you play him?
Sonny Bill? Probably. Initially I was going to say full forward, but I think maybe a half forward, and I'd maybe stick him wing forward, let him pluck a few kickouts and then get a bit of a gallop up and then ship it off to the inside forward and let them just clip it over. He'd good.
I'd love to see Hugo Keenan. love to see Hugo Keenan play wing half back or somewhere.
I think
Or
potentially
midfield.
he did play GAA back when he was younger, but obviously you're forced to make a decision. But I have then a question in the opposite way. What player in the GAA would you like to see give a go of another sport, Dara, and what sport would you pick for them?
The interesting one again. I suppose again when you're just thinking about players who have freakish athleticism. Someone like Shane Walsh in the AFL would be cool to see. Just his ability to kick off both feet is frightening. I know he kind of enjoys like that punt pass as well off both feet. Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually did end up going over when he was younger or not, but he would be a good enough candidate, I think, over there. And then I suppose just someone from my own county, Alton Callum, who nearly basically did have the chance nearly at one stage to get over. Ended up not going, but it would have been nice to see him over there as well because his athleticism, his power, and his pace is frightening as well. So would have been cool to see him over there in the AFL or even rugby.
I'm struggling to think of one, to be honest. You're just saying there about I'd say rugby, like he would do. That was one thing I was actually thinking, like the how GA players would get on in rugby. Obviously at the elite level the pace is insane. Maybe at a lower standard would the pace be as much, and would players sort of thrive just by having that burst of pace and having the engine, I suppose, to keep making those repetitive bursts. If the game is more sort of stop-start than compared to GA where it's more sort of free-flowing. But I can't think of one off the top of my head. You just put me on the spot now.
I reckon an outside of the box one that could go well in rugby is, I think Shawnee Bugler for Dublin could be a good
flying machine.
winger in rugby.
Yeah.
And then another Shawnee O'Shea, I'd love to see him have a go at soccer. He obviously gave a little soccer kick pass there at the weekend off the deck, and then he does kick off the deck as well. So I'd be interested to hear maybe his perspective if he did actually play soccer when he's younger.
Yeah.
And Clifford has a few touches of brilliance with the ball on the ground as well. I think
he did.
he'd be no joke playing soccer as well.
Yeah.
Like
He played centre back, didn't he? When he was younger.
he could be an Erling Haaland, I suppose, if he went back there now and they stuck him up top. But we have a bag of games next week. We haven't even touched on our predictions the last week, but one that we differed on was the Armagh Donegal game. It ended up in a draw. And obviously,
I got that, did I?
Oh, did you say draw, Dara?
I think I did.
I thought you said Armagh.
Do you remember
but,
you just gave me stick for sitting on the fence? Do you know what I mean? No?
Maybe. Well, Dara knows his football anyway, so my next question is going to be about next week's fixtures. And the big one is, obviously, Derry currently flying it at the top of the league. They're playing Dublin at home. If they win that game, do they set down a big marker for the rest of the season, Dara?
Yeah, that's going to be a massive game. And Derry are going to be absolutely mad to set down a marker as well, especially after watching them against Kerry at the weekend. So it's a huge game for both teams, really, to set down a marker. I suppose it's hard to know what way both teams will be actually thinking about it, because they're probably both in their minds thinking we're both probably the top two favourites at the minute for the All-Ireland, alongside Kerry. So will they want to go and give a massive amount away? I don't know. But again, Dublin want to give Derry an edge in terms of getting a win over them, and Derry will want to set down a marker just to let them know they're there. So I don't think it'll have a massive impact on the championship, whatever way it goes, if I'm being honest. It'll just be interesting to see where both teams are at in comparison to each other at the minute, because they're both not far off full tilt, really.
Well, the betting men that are listening to the podcast, they're just saying, Dara, spit it out because you predicted that one right last week. Who's your pick?
My pick is Derry.
Owen, agree, disagree?
Didn't Derry beat Dublin at home 2 years ago, I think it was?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm torn here. I'm going to go with Derry.
I agree as well. I just think from what I've been watching, highlights of Derry, they just seem to be playing that style of game off the shoulder so well. And also, obviously, with Dublin focusing so much on transition, maybe we are underappreciating just how good they are. But I don't know if they'll get the same opportunities for transition with the way that Derry play the ball hand to hand, hand pass to hand pass, rather than Kerry's obvious emphasis on kick passing. So I would go Derry in that, but I do think it's going to be really, really close and it's going to be a good game. We just touched on Donegal and Armagh then, and that being a draw. For Armagh at home this Saturday, Dara, a crucial game for you, really. What's going to be the focus going into that game without giving away too much of the game plan? You obviously need to win the rest of your games to have a chance of even getting near the top of the table, and you need other results to go your way. But do you reckon the team is going to be happy enough to stay in the division, like you said at the start of the podcast, or start of the turn of the year?
Yeah, well, there's no point in lying. The main objective this year is to stay in Division 2. So, yeah, I suppose we're going out to win the game, as we always are. I wouldn't say it's the end, it's the end of the world if we did end up getting beat at the weekend, because we've 2 games, and I suppose to stay in the division, realistically, we're probably going to need 5 points. So, we're going to need a win out of the next 3 games. Yeah, but I from watching Armagh Donegal last week, there's no reason why we can't go and win the game. And we're at home as well, so I suppose that gives us a wee bit of a boost. We did have a good performance last week in terms of our performance against Cork, which, Cork are a high enough level team as well. So we'll be looking, I suppose, to learn as much as we possibly can from those games, try and not make the same mistakes as we did against Donegal. We did actually improve a good bit in terms of that side of things last week. So again, we're trying to bring that up another level, and it's going to have to go up another level against Armagh, because they're obviously going to be continuing to improve week on week as well, and building towards the championship. So yeah, we're going out to win the game, and it would be massive if we could win the game. And I suppose it'd probably have us safe.
Owen, you lads are in a very similar position with a game at home on Sunday against Westmeath. Are you taking a similar approach to Dara, or are you eyeing this as a game you have to win because you want to go up, really, as you said earlier in the year?
Yeah, 100%. You can't. Yeah, the goal is still to go up, and we're probably in one of those positions where anything can happen. If that's the bottom line is, you need to win all your games to get promoted. So yeah, we'll be good out to win that game, obviously. I think with the goal being promotion, anything less than that will be disappointing and probably seen as a bit of a failure for us, to be honest. Because we did set the bar high. So yeah, you have to be good out to win all the rest of your games. And obviously a big test against Westmeath. They have got a number on us the last couple of years. Hammered us last year, obviously. And then the year before, I think just pipped us by 2 or 3 maybe. I think we had maybe been leading most of the game. I think there was a penalty and maybe another goal went in. There was maybe 2-3 or something, in pretty quick succession. So yeah, obviously they've beat us the last two times we played them. So we'll want to show a big performance, even from ourselves, just maybe not being happy with the standards that we have been hitting. So we'll want a big performance, and yeah, we'll definitely be going out to win all the rest of our games. To still hopefully give ourselves the best possible chance of being in talks of promotion anyway.
Without getting into too many verbals, Dara, who do you think is going to win Antrim's game? And Owen, who do you think is going to win in Fermanagh's game?
I'll back Antrim this one. Hopefully McCabe's in from the start. That'll be the difference. Yeah, I'll back Antrim in that one.
I'm gonna go Armagh. I'd love to see Fermanagh win, but I think Armagh is. Well, there's no reason why you couldn't. I was just thinking there when you were asked about it, if you were playing them in the championship, you'd be expecting to go out to get a result. So, I just think the way they're going, they've got a good bit of momentum behind them. I think it'll be tight, but I think Armagh may just on top by 2 or 3 points.
Good answers, by the way, lads, in fairness. I think Owen was quite diplomatic in his as well. Dara just went straight favouritism. But obviously then there's a couple of other big fixtures. Saturday then after that Dublin fixture is a big Connacht clash between Mayo and Roscommon. Who are we backing in that one? Because Roscommon obviously haven't been going well. Mayo have been tight in their fixtures on the right side one week and then on the wrong side the next. Like, that could be a big game in the Connacht Championship later on down the line as well. So who do we think, Dara, is going to win that one?
I think Roscommon are actually building nicely. They had obviously a massive performance last week against Monaghan, and they still have the likes of Ben O'Carroll looking back in. So, as Davy Burke said, they need to be on the pitch every day of the week if they want to get up to that level. So they must have been on the pitch every day last week. But I'm not impressed with Mayo at all, being honest. I fancy Roscommon to get one up in them in that game. And Roscommon always raise their level when they're playing Mayo, and when they're playing Galway, when they're playing Connacht teams, they always seem to bring it up a few notches. They don't like to see, I suppose, the neighbours getting one over on them. So I'd be backing Roscommon in that to get a result.
Owen, are you thinking the same thing? Mayo, again, just there, nearly men thereabouts in every game. Would you be backing Roscommon, or are you thinking Mayo at home might have something to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with Darren that Roscommon are, like they always do, they step up their game big time, but I'm going to go for Mayo in this one. I think we've seen glimpses of what they can do. I think they've shown a good bit of, I suppose, grit to hang in there a couple of times and they get a few results. They almost dug one out against Kerry. They got one against Dublin, but they've still been thereabouts without having really performed. So I think they'll have, with that sort of added space of playing, like it being a sort of a kind of clash, I think they will need to step it up, but I think they will bring a bit of a better game. So I'm going to go for Mayo on that one.
And then a final fixture that I wanted to go through is a bottom of the table clash in Division 1 between Monaghan and Galway. Both teams obviously struggling at the moment. It's in Clonus. Does that give Monaghan the upper hand, or Galway just going to be a little bit too strong for them, do you think?
Honestly, I haven't seen too much of Monaghan and Galway this year. I do feel Galway will probably just have a bit too much. I think I was chatting to one of my clients today. He's from Monaghan, and I was saying, what's the crack? Are Monaghan going down, or are they still they're gonna dig it out as they always do? But I think he's even thinking the luck's run out a wee bit as well. So I think just looking at their team, very young team, maybe a good handful of boys missing, but I think just the way things have been going and going off past results, I do think I think Galway are gonna win that one.
And I did say that was the last one, but we do have a bottom of the table clash in Division 1 as well. And it's the old foe of Darren McGurn and Fermanagh, Cork, playing against Kildare, who are yet to get a win on the board. Crucial game for Cork, and like a really crucial game for Kildare. Even if they are going down, they need to get a win on the board. Like, is it going to be too much for them against Cork? And are Cork going to maybe turn things around following that big win up in Enniskillen the other day?
Yeah, I think Cork, like after getting the big result the last day, and I think Fermanagh were in control ahead for most of the game, and then Cork coming back and winning. That'll be a massive boost to them. I think Kildare, like the mood will be probably low. I don't think from the outside looking in, things don't seem to be going great. So I think Cork will probably get a result there. They'll kick on again. They'll probably be riding that wave this week. They've got a good, they'll probably be a good buzz after getting a good result there. And I think they'll sort of carry that momentum into the weekend again and get another win there.
Obviously, there's a bit in this game for you, Dara, given that it's in Division 2. You just played Cork last week. Have you yet to play Kildare, I think? Like, you'd be eyeing that one. Who do you think is going to come out on top of this one? And, like, were you actually impressed with Cork last day? Or do you think maybe they might get a win here and last week, but it's going to be unlikely that they'll turn it around?
So we've already played Kildare as well. We played them at home, beat them quite comfortably. I wasn't impressed with Kildare at all. But I was not very impressed with Cork in that first half. Like, we should have been 5-6 up at half time, if I'm being honest. With the personnel they brought off the bench, that was a much stronger Cork outfit from what I from what I could see, and they pushed right up and kick-outs. They were way better set up. So I would definitely be going for Cork if I was to pick out of the two, I suppose, teams that I've watched play us. Kildare seemed to have got a bit of a kick last week against me. They weren't far off winning that game. But I just think Cork will have a bit of momentum from last week. I think they have so many quality players come back into their team. Like, they brought on Rory Dean, Sean Powder, Stephen Sherlock. Already they had started Connor Corbett, Brian Hurley, like high level players. They'll have another week under their belt. They'll have a bit of momentum, as we mentioned, from beating us last week. Kildare are down in the dumps at the minute and probably are struggling to see a way out. So I'd be back in Cork to get a W there.
Well, there you have it. If you're a betting man, throw the house and the kids on Cork against Kildare if you're going by Dara's predictions last week. Lads, thanks again, and thanks to all our listeners for tuning in to another episode of the Backdoor Cut.